Hey guys, welcome back to this week's poll here on Comic Relief Cast. I'm your host Jake.
And I'm Josh. Hey Jake, got a quick question for you.
What's that?
Is the Thing's penis really made of rock?
I would assume so. But
What are we reading?
And guys, before we get started, we just want to say thank you for peeling yourself away from Brazzers or, Pornhub or Xvideo, whatever it is that pleases you to spend some time here with us. But it's going to be a long video. We're only putting up one because we're busy getting ready for Halloween Comic Fest here on the shop on Saturday. Definitely hit your local comic shops up who are all celebrating or at least participating in that. But because of that, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be combining both the Marvel and DC episodes into one video this week.
What? It's like an amalgam of sorts.
It's an amalgam.
What?
And so what we're going to be doing is we're not going to be focusing on a lot of the ongoing titles that we've been reading, but a lot of maybe more high-profile books that came out this week, things that we think people are going to be looking for reviews on, whether or not you should pick it up. So what we're going to do is go over Black Panther versus Deadpool #1, Sandman Universe Books of Magic #1, Spider-Geddon #2, Spider-Geddon tie-in Spider-Girls #1, Spider-Geddon tie-in Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider #1, Old Lady Harley, Return of Wolverine #2, Infinity Warp Soldier Supreme #2, X-Men Black Juggernaut, Arachnite #1, Justice League Odyssey #2, What If Thor Was Raised by Frost Giants #1. And with that, right off the bat, Black Panther vs. Deadpool #1 by Daniel Kibblesmith and Ricardo Lopez Ortiz. Josh, please let me stop talking for a second. Take it away.
All right. So in this book, we have another Deadpool versus somebody, and with this book, it's Deadpool versus Black Panther. It says it right there in the title.
Yeah.
Granted, the book is kind of goofy. That's what's to be expected with the Deadpool versus book. The one thing is, it does make fun of the fact that it is a Deadpool versus book, and we constantly have tons of these. I really enjoyed the art. I know that you felt differently
I was not as
on
big
it.
on the art, yeah.
It's kind of more of a cartoony look to it that's really unconventional for comics. Which
Here's the thing I've noticed, Marvel especially has been going the route of taking this very unconventional art style and putting it in their books. To me, after a while, it gets a little off-putting. It makes me not take the book as seriously. I mean, this book you're not supposed to take seriously.
Yeah, it fits for this book.
Yeah, but in other books that even we'll be reviewing today, it's just, I'm kind of over that. I want more of a classic comic book art style to
like Kirby?
come back to prominence. But in
Kirby
this book...
or Chung?
Kirby, Ditko, Chung. Yeah, I mean, those, Liefeld.
you want some more Liefeld?
Yeah,
in your life?
I miss not seeing feet and hands on panels. But
even when you do, they just a blob.
In this book, it was okay. I enjoyed it enough. There were some good moments where I chuckled and stuff. The meta humor out of Deadpool works. But the weird thing is when you take an ultra serious character like Black Panther, who's not really known for his comedy, and put him into a Deadpool book like this, it really kind of... You can have a hard time juggling the tone here, but I gotta say, Daniel Kibblesmith actually does a pretty good job of juggling the comedic tone of Deadpool with the more serious nature of Black Panther. And I gotta say, for a fun read, it works fine. It's not something that I would go out of my way to collect personally, but it's just not really up my alley. But as a fun little passing of the time, it's not a bad book.
As a person who gets Deadpool comics, and I've read majority of the Deadpool verses, I was getting really sick and tired of Deadpool verses, and when I saw this, I was kind of really annoyed by the idea of it, because I'm tired of seeing Deadpool versus books. Deadpool versus Old Man Logan wasn't too bad, but still,
again, that art style though, man,
it's become a gimmick, and I don't really dig it. But this, I really do enjoy this. It was a fun book, and like I said, it does make fun of the fact that it is a versus book. So I definitely think that if you have a light week with your pools, this would not be a bad pickup.
Okay, and with that, I will unveil this week's episode rating. And because it is kind of an amalgam episode, we are doing an amalgam rating system. So, for Black Panther versus Deadpool #1, I'm going to go ahead and give it 2.8 Harlogans.
Yeah, I was at 3 Harlogans.
All right, moving on to Sandman Universe Books of Magic #1 by Kat Howard and Tom Fowler. And this one is the first. It's issue 1. It's the first of the last kind of offshoot series of the Sandman universe. You got the Dreaming, House of Whispers, Lucifer, and now Books of Magic. And this one is actually probably the most user or reader friendly out of all 4.
I totally agree.
This is one that you feel like you can jump right in. You don't need any prior knowledge. You don't feel confused. You can just jump right in. It's got a little bit of mix of something like Harry Potter.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But in the Muggle world. But the thing that I like about this is they talk about destiny and this kid being kind of like the chosen one. But he's not like quote unquote a Mary Sue, where he's just good at everything right away. He's not good at what he does. Maybe he's the destined magic wielder of our world. kid doesn't know how to do shit and he's not really willing to put in the time. It feels kind of relevant. I like it.
Yes, I feel like out of all the Sandman universe books, this is definitely one that's the most user friendly. Like you said, I also feel like this is a one that I can see people who aren't reading any Sandman universe, or never read Sandman universe, never had any interest. This could be something that they might just pick up.
It's a good segue.
It's a good little segue, and it definitely hits on this theme that is already has a following with the and the kid. It is just so happens that the kid actually kind of looks like Harry Potter in some of the cover or the variant cover drawing. But it was definitely a fun read. The only problem I have with it was a little vague. It kind of moves. It's definitely a fast read for a thick book.
Yeah.
It's a pretty fast read.
It's kind of short.
Yeah. But I definitely feel like it's a book that's going to be good. And with the Sandman universe, it seems like it's kind of like hit or miss on some of them. And I feel like this might be one that could continue being a good one.
Yeah, and it's also defining the rules of the magic in this world, which I also like. So
Yeah.
for this one, I'm going to go 3.3. Harlogans.
It's funny. I knew that you're gonna do that, like the little fraction things or whatever, and I was gonna go 3.25.
All right, very close then. Moving
Yeah.
on to Spider-Geddon, issue number 2 by Christos Gage, Dan Slott, Jorge Molina, and a couple other people that no one really knows. But anyway, so obviously this is still continuing the Spider-Geddon crossover, where all the Spider people are being threatened by Morlun and his family of vampire spider killers.
Inheritors.
Yeah, the Inheritors, that's right. And it's just kind of more of the same of issue 1. It's not really setting up a whole lot. I mean, issue 1 definitely had more consequences. A lot, I'd say.
It had more of an impact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in establishing the event, more things definitely happen. In this one, it's like everyone's kind of breaking off to do their own thing. Let's go on this kind of recruitment effort. I think the art is beautiful. It's on point. But the thing that really pissed me off, as we talked about already, Josh, is that the Edge of Spider-Geddon is referenced in here multiple times, a title that came out a month and a half to 2 months ago, and it's supposed to be happening simultaneous to this book. I think that's poor event planning. I think it's poor storytelling, and you're telling me that if I didn't pick up Edge of Spider-Geddon, I'm actually missing what I feel to be huge chunks of this story.
Well, the thing is it's the way that you feel about that. It's really, you're not missing too much. The only thing that really bugs me about it is the fact that when you pick up the Edge of Spider-Geddon, you kind of get the sense that it's supposed to be leading up to this. And also with this book in general, I feel like this book was, it feels more like a prelude to Spider-Geddon. Everything you find out from this book that Spider-Geddon issue 0 and edges and all the edges are actually supposed to be happening during or after this issue,
Right.
And it doesn't make sense now. Like today,
Basically,
we're also
the
covering
events that are happening in sequential numerical order of the books are not happening
this
in order.
This should essentially be, your Edge of Spider-Geddon.
Right.
This should have been, and then because this does not feel like the actual event now, because you have introduced everything that was the intro as it's supposed to be happening after this issue, and this is already 2 issues into the main event, and we're going back. You're
referencing
taking a step back to the preludes.
You're referencing something that happened 2 months ago, basically, and it's like, most comic shops probably don't even have that book anymore.
Well,
so it's
not
like,
Edge of Spider-Geddon 2, because that one actually went up in price and sold out almost immediately.
That's right, yeah. So,
And granted, this was when they did this book. It takes like a month or 2 for this stuff for the creators to make this stuff.
Well,
so when they
absolutely.
made this stuff, they probably weren't thinking about how they were being released. But also, we're also gonna review these books, all the Spider-Geddons, as one, right? Is that what you were wanting to do?
I feel like we're getting off track. Let's just keep going.
Okay. Well, it just feels like it's kind of being backstepped. Other than that, the artwork was good. The storyline, it's decent, but it kind of throws you off of this main event because it feels more like this is supposed to the first 2 issues were supposed to be a prelude.
Yeah, I think this is basically what most people were very frustrated with Marvel a while ago with these events. Is you got to get so many other crossing over titles, either so many spin-off titles you got to get in order to get the full story. This is something I thought Marvel had finally moved away from.
Yeah.
Something that doing something like this seems counterproductive. Like, this seems like a lot of the old criticisms of Marvel happening right now.
Okay, well, I will throw this out there, though. As someone who did pick up the Edge of Spider-Geddon books, for anybody who needs this piece of information, and for you, because you didn't read any of the Edges.
Read one.
You did read one, and I didn't let you read the rest. But I will throw this out there. When you do read this and you feel like you're missing a chunk of something, you're not missing anything. Literally what it's doing is it's going through referencing recruitment stage, and you don't need to know. They show a
Right. But the
picture
way
of
they
what
stage
Spider-Ham is doing in what like in
but
that
the way
part.
they stage it, it's like, see this issue. It's like, okay, well, there's a whole other story here of how this new character is going to come into play, and it's like, okay, whatever. I guess, if 2 months ago, if I had this knowledge that I should have read that, if that would be an integral part of the story, then cool. But it seems,
I
to
feel
you it's
like-
like an aside, but for me, someone who didn't read it, I go, I feel like I'm missing a big chunk of the story. I know you're saying that I'm not, but it feels to me that I am, and the way it's staged in this book, the way it's written and structured in this book, it's like a huge stopgap going, okay, pause, go read this book, then come back. It's not a nice even flow.
I get that, but they do this all the time. I mean, they do it in DC, and it's just this one they use it a lot, and I don't know why.
Multiple times, at least 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, and I don't know why they do that.
Yeah.
My biggest one that I have a problem with is the one where they don't explain anything. I mean, I kind of feel, in my personal opinion, I kind of feel if you put, the edges, and I'm always like this with events, like Infinity Countdown and stuff like that. I'm picking up the preludes. If I'm interested into the event, I'm going to pick up the preludes and ending up to it because it has, Infinity in it. The same with Spider-Geddon. I picked up the Edge of Spider-Geddon stuff because it says Spider-Geddon in it, and I'm thinking that I'm going to probably end up needing these.
Right.
And I feel like some of the people who are really into the Spider-Geddon stuff probably did that, especially with the hype that was on some of those Edge of Spider-Geddon books, because a couple of them actually did go up in price.
I know, but we're getting way off topic here. All I'm saying is this as an event is not successfully told, in my opinion. This is not how you do an event. This is not how you do a mini event. I mean, it's not like rattling the pages of Marvel, but it is in the Spider world. It's it's a big deal, and it's not being executed properly. And my other problem too is that it's making me very aware of how much I do not like this idea of spider totems in general. I know that some of these offshoot versions of Spider-Man have their love, like Kane and Ben Reilly, and even maybe Spider-Punk and Spider-Gwen. All these characters, I know that they have their fan bases, but for me, and I've heard this criticism so many times and not really paid attention, but it's really diminishing the uniqueness of Peter Parker. He's no longer an individual, it feels like, and I don't like that. I don't like thinking he's part of the Spider Nova Corps or the Spider Green Lantern Corps. You know what I mean? It's just, I want Spider-Man to be something that's unique just to Peter Parker, and it's making me very aware of how much of a gimmick it is, and how it just feels so schlocky. It's the best way I can put it. It just feels like schlock.
It's a gimmick.
Yeah.
It's definitely a gimmick, and as someone who does enjoy the spider stuff like that, I mean, I feel it doesn't. I feel like I understand what you're saying, where it says it kind of takes away from Peter Parker,
diminishing,
because it does. Yeah. But at the same time, with these, like if it does anything like what it did with Into the Spider-Verse, you find out that even though there's all these totems and all these different spider people and all the same ones, that Peter Parker is like, I don't want to say superior.
He's essential.
He is the main force that holds this whole thing
together. Right, but that's also because he's part of the universe that we read, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyways, to me, it's just, there's all these people with spider powers, and it's really getting old very quickly. It's really exhausting.
Yeah,
so
it's like the speedsters of the Marvel universe.
Yeah, but it's even worse.
Let's get in there, yeah.
But anyway, so for Spider-Geddon, issue number 2, I'm going to go ahead and give it just 1.8 Harlogans. I'm
giving it I knew you were going to go low. I'm giving it 3 Harlogans.
Ooh, wow, okay. Moving on to Spider-Girls, number 1 by Jody Hauser and Andres Genolet, and this is a Spider-Geddon tie-in. And the first thing I noticed, unfortunately, is that there is a Deadpool number 1 solicitation in the very beginning of this book that was for June of 2018. I don't know if you guys realize that we are in October, so this solicitation is super old. I don't know what's going on at Marvel, but this seems very sloppy on their part. But anyway, this is to a spider family, right? There's the
Renew Your Vows family.
But yeah,
the Renew Your Vows comic. That's
exactly, there it is. And it's, she's having, the daughter's having, her spider senses, like she has visions and kind of that ripples throughout the web that connects all the universes, whatever, and that something big is coming.
Her spider sense is a lot stronger than most spider people's.
And Anya and Mayday Parker go to this world. They're like, we've never been here before, basically, and it's a recruitment book. It's really not
it's
that. It's
literally what the Edge of Spider-Geddon books were.
Yeah, it's a recruitment book, and so I mean, if you want the full Spider-Geddon series to be a completionist, then go ahead and pick this up. But I can tell you that this does not seem like an essential read. It just kind of felt like Marvel going, we need to put out a female Spider-Man book because, why
Until they
not?
put it in Spider-Geddon 3 that you need to go back and read Spider-Girl's #1.
But again, it won't be like 3.
It seems like
back.
oh man, I can never say her name right. Ariana or whatever.
I think it's Anya, right?
Anya. Yeah, the daughter of, in that universe from Renew Your Vows, the daughter of Peter Parker and Mary Jane. It seems like she's going to be a pretty big pillar.
Wait, you talking about Mayday?
No, not Mayday.
Oh, okay.
No, the daughter,
Oh,
the younger daughter,
gotcha, okay.
the one with
I forget her name already. Annie. Damn.
Yeah. With her, I feel like she's going to end up trying to be they're going to end up making her somewhat of a bigger pillar in
She's the Neo.
and stopping the Spider-Geddon. I mean, essentially that's what ends up happening is you find out there's, like 3 different spider people that are just really like main keens to the totem.
But anyway, for this book, basically just being a recruitment book, I would say this is not a necessary pickup as of now. Who knows what the hell they're going to do 3 issues on Spider-Geddon later, same reference this book. But just as a read itself, I'm going to go ahead and just give it 2.2 Harlogans. But if you're a completionist, I'd say go ahead and pick it up.
I'm going to give it 2.8 Harlogans.
All right, and thank God, moving on to the last thing to do with Spider-Geddon in this video. It is Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider #1 by Shannon McGuire and Rosie Kampf. Oh, thank God, there's no F in there. Okay, so basically this is continuing off the last Spider-Gwen series where she got put in jail at the end. Comes back, and then if you read Spider-Geddon #2 before this, you're gonna realize where
you're gonna
want to.
You're gonna want to read Spider-Geddon before you read Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider, because this actually came out around the time that it should have, in parallel and timeline with Spider-Geddon.
This makes sense to pick up alongside Spider-Geddon #2.
Yeah.
And then so you get a little bit of her and her world. Then you feel, whatever happens at the end of Spider-Geddon 2, that starts to take place in this book. It's okay. It's not my favorite thing. There's nothing clever. There's nothing really new or great about it. There is, talk about the symbiote, and I don't understand that at all.
She loses her powers in the last volume, and she ends up being connected to a symbiote.
Okay, well that, it makes its presence known when it's super convenient as a Deus Ex Machina, but whatever. Okay, the way this book ends is pretty much exactly the way I expected this book to end. Nothing spectacular about it. It is the pretty mundane Spider-Gwen issue 1 for me, so I'm just going to give it 2.2 Harlogans.
As a Spider-Gwen fan, I was kind of worried about reading this, just because it's not Robbie Rodriguez or Jason Latour that's on it, and I really like that team. To be honest, it wasn't near as bad as what I was thinking it was going to be. I thought I was going to really hate this book, but I kind of enjoyed it. As a Spider-Gwen fan, I feel like this is not a bad read. The artwork does it kind of gives that Robbie Rodriguez-like feel, and it's kind of enjoyable. I'm giving it actually 2.85 Harlogans.
Okay, awesome. Moving on to Old Lady Harley by #1 by Frank Thierry and Inaki Miranda. And this book makes it painfully obvious that Harley Quinn is basically DC's Deadpool. And I read this back to back with Black Panther vs. Deadpool, so no surprise there anymore. I finally have figured out what they're doing with Harley Quinn, but I will say this book does have some clever stuff to it. It is kind of fun. There are a couple moments to chuckle at. There are some characters in here I don't recognize. I don't know if I'm supposed to, but I don't read Harley Quinn. So this, there are a couple things in here that I go, I don't understand. Am I supposed to get this? Am I supposed to know who this person is? But you can kind of make your way through this book and not really need those answered too much. You get the gist of the book. And it feels like a painfully obvious knockoff of Old Man Logan, surprise, surprise. But
mixed with like Mad Max.
Yeah,
and
a
Tank
little
Girl.
bit of right. And they even have like a straight out like Mad Max panel in this book.
Which was actually from Harley Quinn 42.
Yeah, which first appearance of Old Lady Harley. If you guys want to go get that, this might drive the price of that book up.
Yeah, it's already been drove up.
Well, maybe this one drives it up more. But anyway, this book. I'm gonna give you guys my honest opinion right now. Nothing this week that we've read so far, just for this episode, has gotten me excited about anything. Like nothing has really gotten me to the point where I'm just really happy to read this book, really happy to have this book in my collection. It all felt just kind of like work.
Let's also take it into effect that Jake got a massive concussion over the weekend, and he's been a little out of it. But yes, I will agree with you. Nothing that that we read that came out this week so far that we've read.
Are you
Which we've
concussed
read
too now?
A little bit.
All right.
No, but nothing actually blew my hair back either.
Yeah.
Nothing was bad, but nothing was.
Yeah, nothing was offensively bad, other than honestly the Spider-Geddon. Edge
That's
of
your
Spider-Geddon
opinion.
stuff.
That's
but
your opinion.
The
Shut
Edge
the
of
fuck up.
Spider-Geddon stuff pissed me off.
It always pisses you off. I don't even know why you try reading it.
I liked issue 0 and 1. The thing is, I just did not like the way that they put the Edge
I don't
of
like the
Spider-Geddon
time.
shit
Yeah,
in
that
there.
timeline.
That's
the
what
way
I'm
they
talking about.
release shit is not good. But let's get back on old Lady Harley. So, what was your rating for this?
My rating, I'm going to go ahead and just get this one right down the middle, 2.5 Harlogans.
2.5 Harlogans?
Yeah.
You know what? I was right there for you. I actually thought I was going to end up not finishing this book. I thought I was going to really hate this book. And it really wasn't all that bad. Any other Harley Quinn books I read, I end up just hating the shit out of it.
It didn't piss me off as much as like the Amanda Connor stuff.
Or the Harley Quinn and Gossamer or whatever.
Oh,
that book
that was
like
Amanda Connor,
that
though.
was a fucking chore to finish. I
Yeah.
don't understand why people picked up Harley. This one I wouldn't be mean to the people.
There's a
picking it up.
charm to it, but it's not something that I'm looking forward to reading 6 issues of
Yeah.
either. So, moving on to Return of Wolverine, number 2.
Returning
We had
on to
Harley, now we got Logan, by Charles Soule and Declan Shalvey. And obviously this is, Wolverine still coming back. So what I'm basically being able to do, and unfortunately Stephen McNiven is not on the interiors, and it really shows.
Yeah, it really does.
It is a
Granted, he
bummer.
wasn't doing a whole lot of great work in the first issue.
I don't know what happened to him, but anyway, this book, I'm starting to understand what's going on here. I'm starting to see that a lot of this stuff is just a mind trip for Logan. A lot of the things that are happening, we actually,
Yeah.
as an audience, I don't think we're supposed to know what's real and what isn't. What's happening in Logan's mind as opposed to what's actually happening in reality. And the way I'm interpreting this book now is that he's coming across people that he knows from his past. They're not really saying anything, but we recognize them as readers, and he's kind of killing them off one by one. And I think what's happening is he's being forced to kill off his past. He's being forced to kill off the people he knows, connections, people that he loves or cares about. He's kind of killing them off to become the great, Wolverine the Killer again. You know what I mean? And this one woman that's kind of chauffeuring him around, and what I assume is really not the reality, is kind of his last vestige of humanity, and he keeps trying to hang on to it. But the more and more they go on, the more and more people he's killing, and the further away he's getting, which is why they're like in a boat heading towards an island. It feels very isolated. I think Charles Soule is putting a lot of allegory and a lot of metaphor in this book, and I'm actually picking up on it, and it makes me enjoy this book a little bit more.
Yeah, it's not bad. Granted, I picked up kind of on that in the first issue. I kind of feel like it was, if he was trying to make it where it was difficult for a reader to understand or get it.
It got a little muddy.
I felt like
in
it
that
was,
issue.
to me, I felt like it was spoon-fed. But that's just my opinion. And then this book just kind of definitely, seals that, if you had any doubts about that being that kind of seals it in there for you. The artwork definitely does take a massive hit on it, though. I mean, it's not horrible. There's some panels that were pretty good, but that's about it. Granted, that was the same thing I said about McNiven when he did the first issue.
His is inconsistent.
What is your theories on the Heated Claws?
Knowing
everything that's going on with Thor right now.
I was gonna say, I think it's gonna have something to do with the Phoenix Force. I think they even make a reference to this in this book. At least they allude to it very softly in this book. But I do think it's somehow tied to the Phoenix Force.
I think so too. I mean, the Phoenix is also that usually brings birth of mutants. So
exactly.
But I agree too. So, what was your rating?
I'm gonna give this one 3.6.
3.6.
3.6 Harlogans. I actually enjoyed this one more than issue 1 for sure.
Yeah, I actually put it at 3.2.
Okay,
Harlogans.
so I'm not too far off.
Yeah, not too far off.
All right, moving on to Soldier Supreme, number 2 of 2 by Jerry Duggan and Adam Kubert. And this one, I gotta say, I don't know what happened with Adam Kubert's interiors, especially early on in the book. It seems like he had to do some very quick edits to a lot of his panels, because they do not look good. But once you get to about halfway through, it starts looking really good again. What I really love about this is that it's just continuing the very clever amalgam of Doctor Strange and Captain America, and I think it does it really well. It explains how he is displaced in time, but it's more in the dark dimension than him just being frozen. I think that's really cool. As you guys can see from the cover, you got MODOK and Baron Mordo as the amalgam villain in this, which they call MORDOK. And I thought that was awesome. The way even they come up with an acronym for it, so what it actually stands for, I think is really cool too. Yeah. And then if you guys have been reading Infinity Wars, it ends with the last issue of Infinity Wars, and I think this book is one of the best tie-ins for Infinity Wars. I think this one,
I agree.
It's not a necessary read, but goddamn is it a fun one.
Yeah, Iron Hammer, it missed it. It missed
hard.
It could have been really good. It missed it. Weapon Hex was okay, but just it was definitely a forgettable issue. But I definitely think the Soldier Supreme one, and it's actually a character that I wouldn't mind seeing more of.
I wouldn't mind an action figure of this.
I wouldn't mind an action figure of it either. And I agree with the art in the beginning of it. It's very.
It's bad.
It's not like there's no like the portion of the body is not
The
good.
proportions are off. Yeah, the faces are just goofy.
But
like
once you get a little bit like past the first 3 pages, it starts getting really good. I mean, there's one panel. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's one panel in here that I absolutely love seeing because it was just like this perfect little mix of Doctor Strange and
Steve Rogers.
Yeah, Steve Rogers.
Yeah, so for this one, I'm going to go ahead and give this 3.75 Harlogans.
God damn it, 3.8 Harlogans.
All right. And we're going to continue on the theme of amalgams here on today's episode with the other Infinity Warps amalgam, Arachnite by Hopeless and Garza. And this one, because I'm not as well versed on Moon Knight, I couldn't tell when some things were allusions to Moon Knight's mythos. But of course, the Peter Parker Spider-Man ones, everyone knows those.
Yeah.
So I actually thought this was pretty well done. There are times when all the different personalities are talking that I'm not really sure who's saying what, and really what's supposed to be, kind of taking the forefront in Peter's body. But I gotta say, I liked it, and I think that the interior art when Arachnite is in motion and his costume looks a lot better in the interiors than it really does on the cover.
Well, that's because you got Ramos on the covers, and we all know how you feel about Ramos.
I don't hate him. He's just not my favorite by any means.
Oh yeah.
But I thought it was good, and I'm actually really looking forward to issue 2. I'm surprised because I thought this one was like, okay, they came up with a character who would look really cool. 2 characters when you fuse them together would look really cool together, but is there really a story there? There is a pretty cool little story, and I like the way they tie Uncle Ben stuff into Moon Knight stuff, and I thought it worked pretty well.
Yeah. This was, out of all the Infinity Warps, this was the one I was actually the most worried about. Soldier Supreme, I had a funny feeling it was going to be pretty kick-ass. I was really hoping Iron Hammer was going to be kick-ass. Weapon Hex, I went in with the intentions that it was going to be kind of a forgettable issue. Arachnite was one I was like, I don't know what's going to happen with this. Especially when I look and I see that Hopeless was doing it, and I'm kind of hopeless with Hopeless.
I saw that one coming. You and your dad jokes.
Yeah, I know, right? And I read it. I actually dig the story. It was a good story. It makes sense. I like the fact that the different personalities of like what Moon Knight is. It's all different versions of Peter that we see. A science Peter, CEO Peter, brass. And that makes sense, and it works well for this character. I definitely think that this is another book that if you have a light pull this week, I think you should pick it up. I think it's a good read.
I think if you've been reading Infinity Wars, this is one you want to pick up anyway.
Oh yeah.
And if you're a fan of Moon Knight or Spider-Man, I think either if you fall under any of those categories, this is a book I would definitely recommend.
Even though they kind of do mention that he's part of the totem.
Yeah, I just kind of wrote that one off. But I'm going to give this one 3.4 Harlogans.
I was actually a little bit above you, 3.75 Harlogans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on to X-Men Black Juggernaut #1 by Zach Thompson and Lonnie Nadler, and the art is by Geraldo Borges.
Geraldo Borges.
Geraldo? But I think it's
Geraldo Borges.
And this is not dealing with what I thought it was going to deal with at all.
You know what? I'm right there with you. I've been actually kind of curious what your thoughts were on this, so I'm going to let you go ahead and talk like I always do.
Okay. Well, this actually has a lot.
Oh, wait a minute. Before you continue on this, I do want to say one thing. Hakuna Matata, Your Majesty.
20% off any book not on your pull list this week if you come in and give us that secret code phrase. But yeah, this book is not what I expected it to be at all. When you first opened it up, I'm going, okay, this is exactly how I expected it to start. But what it really is dealing with is the Sidorak. Yeah. The gem of Sidorak and the master, the demon of Sidorak, and I go, this is mythology that has just not been fleshed out enough. No. This is not something that a lot of people know about, which is why that Doctor Strange, I think 44 went up. Yeah. And and I thought, this is really cool, and it does give a little bit of backstory on Cain Marko himself, but it actually, what it does is it kind of delves into his mind a little bit. It gives us a little bit of internal monologue, a little introspection on his part, and it makes you understand a little bit more of Juggernaut to the point where I go, I would not mind Juggernaut just
having his own ongoing?
Not his own ongoing, but being like the big bad of a long X-Men arc, because I think there's really a lot to unpack with this character that hasn't been explored yet. And this book made me realize that there is a lot more underneath of Juggernaut than even I give him credit for.
I do also want to throw out there that if you want to understand more of what happens in this book, that you're going to have to go back a few months and pick up Thor #1.
Yeah, okay.
Because there is also a point
There's
of that
one
mentions...
reference. One fucking reference.
But you won't understand why there's
and
a
you
fight.
You don't need to read it. No, that's not why they're fighting. It's just a reference
I know,
point.
I'm just fucking
Go
with you.
anyway.
But also, you know what?
Dick.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to say this. So far, this is my favorite X-Men Black run.
I say it's my second after the Magneto.
Yeah. The Magneto is right. The Magneto was really good, but this was I love this. I know that the art style is definitely something that I like. It's that unconventional art style that we were talking that Marvel's been using a lot lately.
Yeah.
And I really dig it. And I love the fact that they're hitting on this whole the Cyttorax and kind of branching out more of Juggernaut. Juggernaut used to always just be this
one-note character.
This one-note character that just was an unstoppable force, and now they're making him more of a they're making him a mythology, his own mytho kind of thing. And I love the fact that they're also tying it to Thor. And now I'm starting to realize I think Thor is going to be the key to everything.
I hope
in
he is.
Marvel Universe.
I
think what's going to end up happening is here shortly. Thor is going to be the key for everything.
He's all father.
Yeah, you're going to find out that he's actually the leader of the Spider Totem.
No, fuck off. And then, of course, at the end, you've got the ongoing of the Apocalypse series that's still going, and I'm really digging it. I'm really digging that Apocalypse stuff. Every installment makes me more and more intrigued by the story. I'm getting more and more invested in that story, and I'm really liking the idea that Apocalypse, who has kind of always held himself to the standard of being the most highly evolved, we see him de-evolving into almost like an ape-like state in this series, and I think it's spectacular. Something that's never been done before, and by the end of this book, I'm wondering, was it all orchestrated on his part? I'm wondering if he masterminded it and kind of forgot that this was his plan all along.
Right? Yeah, it's something like after this one, it has after this. Man, now I feel like I'm the one that got hit in the head by an 8-year-old and have a concussion.
Awfully specific.
I know, right? But I feel like with all the Apocalypse stories, like the little stories at the end of all this, this was the one that I got the most confused after. Like I'm like,
oh really?
What the fuck's going on? Like not confused, but I'm like more like, well, now what the fuck? Like usually you can always kind of see where the story is going, and now I'm like, well, now I'm curious. Like there's different possibilities of what could be going on.
Yeah.
And I do really enjoy the Apocalypse storyline at the end of this, and I definitely think that this should be a pickup. Because this is right there with my favorite was actually Mojo before this, and
oh really? Okay,
yeah.
So yeah, I really dug this one. I love the X-Men Magneto, but I'm loving this one too. I'm gonna give this one 3.7.
I'm actually a little bit 3.85.
All right, moving on to Justice League Odyssey #2. It's got a great foil cover, so
fantastic.
Just right there for collectability sakes, you guys can already pick that one up. It is a $3.99 issue, and I think this is Josh Williamson and oh Jesus, Sajik. Let's just call it Sajik. It's his last name. I'm really digging the idea behind this. I'm really liking that DC is really kind of with their core group of characters. They're really branching out what we know, and they're really expanding out, kind of testing our limits of how far are we willing to go with you, DC, on what you're willing to do with these characters. And some of them, like Flash with this, still force, or the fuck it is, not okay with it. I think it's stupid. What is it called? The slow force?
Oh, you're talking about from Justice League?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm reading the Williamson's Flash run,
okay,
which has different forces in it.
The Sage Force, right.
And it's actually a good berry.
But I will say, even though I didn't like Metal, I didn't like, what was it, the Justice League 4-issue thing, what was it called?
No Justice.
No Justice. I didn't like that. When you do those kinds of things and you just stick with it, even if you don't feel it was successful, but you stick with it and you flesh out the ideas, the repercussions, and the consequences of those things, you can get really good stories. And that's what you're getting out of Justice League Odyssey right now. You're exploring this ghost sector, this entire sector or galaxy that was shrunk down, and now it's back, and no one knows what to do with it. And it's really bringing into question a lot of things about humanity and the way civilizations arise and how they formulate and things like that. And I'm really digging that idea. And Darkseid not really being a bad guy, like not the way we think of a bad guy, but more kind of like this harbinger of, hey, here's your destiny kind of thing. It's a really cool angle to put on Darkseid. And I'm really loving this series. This is probably one of the best things in DC right now.
I wouldn't say it's the best things.
One of
the best things. Yeah. I definitely really enjoyed this book. The one thing I realized after reading this is how much I actually really enjoy Joshua Williamson's writing. I always enjoyed the Flash front.
He's strong.
And I just realized that even when it's a filler issue, an issue that's not even supposed to be a big spectacular issue, it's still a good issue. And I did not think I was going to like Justice League Odyssey. I don't like the line. Before I read this, I didn't like the lineup of characters. And I'm not a huge fan of cosmic storytelling, of intergalactic storytelling.
I can be if it's done right.
Yeah, you can be if it's done right, because you like the smart, like the more intelligent stuff, and I like dim-witted shit. But I will say that this storyline is great, and it is. I put it right up there with Justice League Dark.
Yep.
It's a damn shame that Snyder can't get his shit together, and I feel and take Justice League up there where these other Justice League titles are, because Dark Knight's Metal and No Justice, and also the Justice League run, I feel like is kind of lackluster.
It's lost its luster for sure. Yeah.
It spawns. Its offspring is actually succeeding it. I feel like, and the numbers actually show that, where the comic books have gone up in value. Justice League #1 of this new Justice League run has gone up in value, but Justice League Dark has gone up. All the issues have gone up in value, and I feel like Justice League Odyssey is following that same track, and I wish Justice League would do the same.
Snyder is a good idea, man. I don't think his execution anymore is as good or as big as his ideas. Deus Ex Machina, yeah. But I'm just digging it. It's like Justice League Dark they're really exploring the magic within the world of DC, right? The underground stuff that you don't really think about. And Bobo. And Justice League Odyssey is exploring these really grand intergalactic cosmic ideas, and I go, this is the kind of stuff I want. This is the way to expand your universe without kind of fucking the rest of the universe up, the way I kind of think Bendis' Superman is, where Earth is in the Phantom Zone in Action Comics, but it's not in Superman, or vice versa, whichever. I'm getting mixed up.
It's all over the fucking place.
Yeah, that to me kind of fucks it up. But you're like, oh, these band of 4 or 5 characters go off in space in this uncharted, known area of space that was once shrunk down and no one knew it even existed. Now we're going to explore that. We're going to explore the magic area, because no one's really doing that right now. That's cool. I think they should continue to do that. The darker corners of the DC universe are flourishing right now and shining a bright light on the faults of the rest of the DC. So with that, this is definitely, easily the best DC book I've read this week. Granted, guys, there's a lot more to read for this week. We just didn't get around to it yet, but I'm going this 4.2. Har-Logans.
Really? I'm at 4. I'm at 4 Har-Logans. And also, just want to throw this out there before DC fanboys start fucking getting shitty and pissed off. When it comes down to what was coming out this week, DC really does not have that much coming out, and Marvel is oversaturated the market this week for new comic books. So that's the only reason why
like issue ones and
trust
events.
Me, we have, because Marvel put out more, we have more problems with Marvel Comics right now. There's too much of the Spider-Gwen and shit, and also they've been fucking up. They're putting old ads in comics, and then also even with Return of Wolverine #1 second printing, they announced that they put 2 pages of Dr. Aphra in it. Aphra in it, and they can't fix it because they didn't realize it until they already packed and shipped all the books out. So keep an eye open out for the second printing of Return of Wolverine, because that's probably going to go up in some money. It's not recalled, but
it's like that Deadpool issue and Spider-Girls, that solicitation. And the last thing we're going to talk about is What If Thor Was Raised by Frost Giants, and this is written by Ethan Sachs, artist Michelle Bandini. And I gotta say, this is one of my favorite what ifs to have happened so far. And I think it's only because I'm a Thor fan. I don't think it's a great story, but to me, it's intriguing.
It's definitely intriguing. Definitely intriguing.
Yeah, so it's basically what if Thor and Loki had switched places, and Loki was the paternal son of Laufey, and Thor was raised kind of like Loki was, but the thing is, it's funny, and like in reality, Thor still is the favorite brother, and Loki is the one getting shoved to the side. And so when you have that dynamic, but Loki is the blood son, the direct bloodline to the throne, and Thor comes in as the adopted son, and he's more favored by Laufey. It's just a really interesting story. But what's really cool is that the way this book ends, I did not see coming. I really didn't see the way this book ended coming, and I like it that much more.
I kind of saw it coming. When we start getting a little bit, like when you start reading it, I started seeing it coming. Granted, I thought it was going to go further, and it didn't go further to what I thought was going to end up happening. But Yeah, as someone who doesn't read a whole lot of Thor and who doesn't really care for a whole lot of Thor, this is still very intriguing. If you've watched, say that all you know of Thor is from the movies, this is still a very, very interesting book, and you can still read it and still go, wow, this is...
If all you saw was the first movie of Thor, this would make perfect sense to you anyway.
Oh, yeah,
so.
like this, I mean, and it's a very good what if. It definitely just makes you sit here the whole time. I'm sitting here going like, wow, I never even thought about that. You know,
exactly,
like,
and that's what I liked about it. It just kind of tells me that, like, you know, eternally or perpetually, no matter what, Thor is always going to be,
it's like
loved
written
more
in the
than Loki.
stars.
Exactly.
Thor's always going to be loved more.
It's just his destiny. You can't change it.
It's those golden locks, bro.
Yeah, I mean, he's a pretty man. But
you would say that.
but anyway, I really like this what if. I'm loving that Marvel's doing these what ifs. And so for this one, I'm going to give it 3.9. I can't quite get it to 4 yet, but 3.9. Harlogans. I really enjoyed it, but again, I am a big Thor fan.
Yeah, I'm at 3.75 Harlogans. So, as someone who isn't as huge as a hardcore Thor fan as you are, I'm just validating that it's still a good book.
Yeah, it is. All right, guys. Well, that is all we've got for you today. We know it was a long one. We really appreciate if you were able to listen all this way through. We know we had a lot of talking.
I mean, come on. If you think about it, we saved you some time from clicking from one video to another video by doing this.
Exactly. And plus, Spider-Geddon, we had some issues with that we needed to work out.
Yeah. And we'll work out more of it later.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening. Please hit that like button. Share this with any of your friends that like to listen to comic book reviews or read comic books. Comment below. Let us know what you're looking forward to picking up, what we should have reviewed for you guys. Trust me, had we been able to read everything this week, we probably would have had very different reviews. And, of course, guys, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And we will see you guys next week. And don't forget to go to your local comic shop for Halloween Comic Fest this Saturday on the 27th.
My spider sense is tingling, if you know what I mean.